Okay. Right, with the first question about supporting businesses with the recruitment issues, I think there are two key strands to that. First of all, I think an awful lot of our school leavers have more skills than immediately appears from their CVs. They're not experienced at writing CVs. So I worked with Jan Gimbert from the Department of Education and members from various different industries to look at updating the record of achievement for school leavers. And we developed a portfolio approach trying to encourage students to put in examples of their work and photographs and drawing examples from the work experience that they've done to give them something as a prompt that would enable them to showcase more effectively their skills. Because I think experienced workers are very good at referring to projects they've done. School leavers don't think they've done anything, and very often they have, because they've been involved in things like Duke of Edinburgh, and they've done things in school and in their sports that have enabled them to demonstrate those skills. On the second question with regard to regulation, I think regulation is very much a two-way process, and that employers are actually benefited by some of the regulations because they ensure workers' rights and health and safety. And if you've got healthy, happy workers who are working in a good environment, they are more likely to stay, and you are more likely to get more out of them in the long term. Regulatory creep can be a problem, but I think if it's a sensible discussion and you have the unions and the employers working together to look at sensible legislation that helps rather than hinders the development of your employees, then I think that has to be to everybody's benefit. And exactly as the question says, it has to be fair and proportionate. In terms of the considerations that the Chamber of Commerce would rank in terms of their top considerations, then obviously I think a government that listens to business concerns clearly has to be a priority. It's very difficult to do too long-term a strategy given that you have a 5-year term of office, and the programme for government is generally published to be over a 5-year term of office. So I think not only do you need to have short-term solutions, you do also have to have a longer range strategy. The government clearly does support innovation in the work that it's doing with the 4 sectors within the Department of Enterprise. So I think some of the really quite fragile new businesses that have been attracted to the island, like e-gaming and e-sports, that are heavily reliant on the kind of skills shortage that's been identified. Obviously, the government has to work on investment there, and then I think things like UCM and the ICT courses available there will help with that. On the fourth question about as part of the new administration, how would I support them through the challenges and those who don't feel they need a challenge? Well, I think it's similar to the earlier question about being proportionate. And if we need to ensure that we have a diverse economy, because a diverse economy means that we have an attractive place to live and work, which will continue to encourage people to come here. Housing is currently very expensive here, and that may be something that puts people off. However, I think the quality of life and the nighttime economy and all of those things that do need support currently, because I think the nighttime economy is something that's been heavily impacted by the COVID crisis. It is in the best interests of business to have a vibrant place to live and work, because that will attract long-term workers. What would I do to ensure that opportunities like Brexit are maximised? I don't actually think Brexit is entirely an opportunity. There are clearly some opportunities created by it, and I think some of our industries have worked hard to develop business in emerging markets. I actually think the threats that Brexit contained have not yet been fully realised, because I think much of it has been masked by the COVID crisis, and I think the next administration is going to have to work very hard to tackle some of the logistical issues that have been created by Brexit and attributed to COVID, because I think that's clearly what has actually happened. So, for example, the logistical issues with lorry drivers, I think a lot of that is to do with the lack of European workers rather than COVID per se. Question 6 about the desire to engage with energy efficient practices. I'm quite concerned about the energy efficient legislation that's coming through, because it's means tested, and I don't think means testing is the best way to encourage energy efficiency. I think looking at the impact and then addressing those areas where there is the biggest concern would be a far better way of doing it. I also think businesses may need to address workers working from home, because I think COVID may well mean that that is a longer term issue, and that may well be something that impacts on people's energy use, because I think perhaps having smaller office space and using hot desking might be something that happens more, and you may need to look at the energy impact and the energy efficiency of your workers working from home. On question 7, that they want to be involved in sustainability and climate change, and they want to follow regulations. The Biosphere Pledge is quite difficult because I think the Biosphere Pledge has only got a very small team behind it. It's one full-time person and one administrator. So I think having something that is quite ephemeral as a pledge is not necessarily going to be helpful. I think what's much more important is to encourage businesses to see the long-term economic impact of having environmental sustainability, because I think we need to stop thinking in terms of 19th century economics where we just concentrate on GDP and growth and actually realise that the economy is actually about sustainability and the long-term viability of different business models, and have a far more 21st century approach. And I think that's how you sell it to business, and that's how the government needs to be operating. And then finally, diversifying the economy being seen as the fourth most important to business. I think that that's an extremely important part of the economy. Although we're a very small place, we are a place that has an awful lot of creative and innovative people. You only have to see the impact that Manx people over historical time have had on creation and innovation. There are lots and lots of examples, not least through Edmund Hillary from Hillary Park, where I live. So I think it's very, very important that we encourage innovation and creativity, and that we diversify the economy, which I think benefits all sectors, including the existing sectors. I particularly am a champion of the creative industries because I think that they actually create a lot of reasons why people want to live here. So when we have things like pop-up galleries and pop-up events, those add vastly to the quality of life here, and also things like the sports and leisure industry as well, and tourism. But I don't think mass tourism is the way ahead. I think much more niche tourism, which not only has benefits for people coming to visit the island, but also has huge benefits for the people living here. So I would like to see more festivals and more one-off events that benefit not only potential tourists, but also benefit the island community and benefit the island's businesses, because their workers and employees have more to do, are living in a vibrant, interesting place that has outstanding natural beauty, high quality education, and hopefully with the added investment to bounce back from COVID, a very good quality health service as well. And I don't think that paying a little bit more in tax would necessarily put businesses off, because I think if you've got a balanced benefit of having a very, very dynamic and diverse economy and lots of different things to do and a high quality of life, that's a long-term selling feature, and it's a long-term thing that will help with recruitment and retention of workers. As we have a slogan saying that we're an attractive place to live, we have to make sure that we are maintaining that level of attraction.